People ask, what is the good time to start a spiritual journey? I tell them, you haven't started yet? That's a bad news. Start immediately, because you never know. So that is the idea. Our scriptures teach us to meditate and contemplate on the higher truth at all the times. In a workaday life, we are so busy doing so many things. Making the two ends meet itself is a life struggle. Raising children, running businesses, doing a job, doing whatever is needed to sustain our families or communities, that itself takes away most of our time. And there is no time to think and contemplate on these higher ideas. So our ancient people are very clever. They put these festivals as a part of our calendar and made sure that all these festivals are celebrated at the appropriate times. And that would help us to withdraw again from the worldly matters and contemplate on the higher truths. Because we never know when the time will be over. And that is one thing that nobody has control on. And therefore we worship time. Mahakala is called, Shiva is also called Mahakala. Means the one who is beyond time, who is above time, who is greater than time. But we are all below time. We are all under the power of or influence of time. And we can only do so much when the time is still there. So that is the idea, that do not waste time on the spiritual path. Shanardam api vartam naneyam, Narada says to the devotees. Don't waste even half a kshana. Kshana is like probably a moment. A second, let us say. Not even half a second you should waste on this spiritual path, because we do not know when all these things will be taken away. So that is why these festivals are celebrated. So coming back to Shiva Shakti, which is the dance of Shiva and Shakti, the energy and the consciousness. We learned Brahman is the ultimate, supreme, formless, nameless, attributeless divinity. We call it Brahman because it is derived from the word Brihat, which means vast or endless. And the idea of God in India, in Indian spirituality, is that endless, infinite existence, defined as Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. Truth, Jnanam, awareness, and Anantam, infinity. These are the attributes given to that particular form, or formless or nameless divinity. Its nature is that it is true, it exists at all times. It's aware, it is not unconscious. It is completely conscious, it is consciousness, in fact. And its nature is infinite. It permeates, pervades everything. There is no place where it does not exist. So that is the idea of divinity. And then we talked about it as supreme Brahman. And that Brahman has two aspects. The consciousness part of it is called Shiva, and the energy part of it is called Shakti. And when both of them come together, all the matter is formed. So our scriptures say that matter is aware, matter is conscious. You may think it's a piece of wood, or that is a piece of stone. It has no consciousness, but our scriptures do not agree with that. That is why when we are symbolically worshipping Shiva as the lingam, what is a lingam after all? It's a piece of stone. When we worship him, we believe that in that stone also, that Shiva consciousness, that principle of Shiva exists. That is the idea why even worshipping a stone is okay. And Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says, Dvevava Brahmano Rupe. Two types of Brahman are there. Murtam cha, amurtam cha. It can be formless or it can also take any form. Why? Because energy and matter. Energy also has the consciousness, matter also has the consciousness. So you can worship that supreme divinity as the matter, or also can worship as energy. But then we also learned in Bhagavad Gita that it's difficult for us who are embodied with flesh and bone to worship something which does not have a form and a name. So we obviously try to think of God as somebody who is also like us, with hands, legs, eyes, ears, nose. And that is how we define God, and we start worshipping them, which is also perfectly allowed in our scriptures. There is no dichotomy over there. There is no conflict or contradiction. Because we are okay, because that consciousness is part of energy and also is the part of matter. So when you worship Shiva as the matter, this lingam, you actually are trying to tell yourself more than just that. What are you trying to say? That lingam does not have hands, legs, and eyes and nose like a statue of Shiva. At the same time, it is not something which is non-existent or non-visible like energy. So we are trying to teach and train our mind to worship Shiva as the ultimate principle of consciousness, which does not have any form and name. But it's so difficult to straight away go from form to the formless. So from Sakara, form, To the Nirakara, formless, the gap is too big for us, our mind to journey. And therefore, we have an in-between, intermediate stage of Lingakara, which has no particular form in terms of hands, legs, like a particular god. But it is still considered as the representation or symbolism of the Shiva consciousness. That's why Rudra Homa adds that additional dimension is what I'm saying. You bring an idea of supreme consciousness as having no form, yet present in everything, including matter like a piece of stone. So for somebody who is atheist, he will think it's a piece of stone. But for a theist, for the devotee, it is a symbolic representation of that Shiva principle. I always tell, Pratikopasana, it is called in our culture. Pratika means a symbol or chinha. Like the national flag is the symbolic representation of the entire country. It represents all its natural resources, its geography, its boundaries, its people, its culture, its governance. Everything that the country stands for, everything is represented by the national flag. So when you salute the national flag, somebody should not say, you are saluting a piece of cloth. No, it's not a piece of cloth. There is so much that is in it. It represents the entire nation. It represents all the citizens of the nation, all the beings that are part of the nation, including the mountains and rivers and trees and everything else, non-animate also, inanimate things. So that is the idea of Pratikopasana, which our country, our culture allows for those who cannot comprehend the ultimate universal, formless, nameless, attributeless divinity of Brahman or that consciousness of Shiva. For them, that is allowed. So also Shakti Upasakas who worship that same principle as the matter, the energy that is present in all the matter, they worship us as Durga, Lakshmi, Saraswati. The abilities in us, all the abilities of action, ability of comprehension, and ability of willpower, desire, all these are represented by these divinities. So our idea is that we want to see divine in everything. We do not want to say that there is no divinity over here. There is a small story when a guru tells a shishya, all the shishyas, like all these Gurukula shishyas who had come, gives them a banana and tells them, go and eat in a place where nobody is watching you. That's the condition. So everybody goes, somebody goes behind the tree, somebody goes behind the room, behind the wall, and in secret they're hiding and eating the banana. But one disciple comes back without eating the banana. And the Guru asks, what happened? You did not find a secret corner where nobody was watching you? He said, I went everywhere, but then you have taught God is everywhere. So God was watching me, therefore I couldn't eat my banana. So that is the idea. We believe God is everywhere in everything, not as somebody with eyes watching us like a teacher, but as the very supreme consciousness present in and out and everywhere. That is the idea. So what is the purpose of life? Purpose of life is to realize this truth that you are one with that consciousness. Beyond your body, beyond your mind lies this consciousness, which is the presence of divinity within us. That is what we learnt about Drigadrishya Viveka. If objects are seen, eyes are the seer. If eyes are seen, mind is the seer. If mind and its thoughts are the seen, consciousness, which is aware of those thoughts, is the seer. And there is nobody who sees that. And that is the ultimate stage. And we all know that. We experience it at all the times. But we just don't realize. We can't put a finger and say, this is what is God in us. But the moment we rise above body and mind, we start realizing the presence of that consciousness. And why it is important? Because unless we are rooted in that idea of consciousness, divinity, which is beyond the ups and downs, minuses and pluses, positives and negatives, happinesses and sorrows, all the dualities of life, we cannot find peace. We will swing from one end to the other. On one day we are happy because we achieved what we wanted. On the other day we are sad because we didn't get what we wanted. And this is how you swing between the positive and negative emotions all life. The balance to know that both of these positive and negative emotions only at a lower level. Consciousness has no particular emotion, no particular attribute. Just like electricity has no particular property. It is just flow of electrons. However, when it reaches a bulb, it becomes light. When it reaches the fan, it becomes air. When it reaches the mic, it becomes sound. So also it goes and does many things in different gadgets and equipments. Likewise, though the flow of electrons, which is electricity, does not have a particular property, yet when it interacts with the objects, it creates certain results. So also that consciousness, when it interacts with a good mind, it creates positive results by positive actions to the body. When it interacts with a mind which is impure, selfish, greedy, cruel, it again produces results of that kind using the body. Therefore, there are demons, there are humans, and there are gods, they say. And they are represented by the three qualities of tamas, rajas, and sattva. All this is explained in Bhagavad Gita. If you study Bhagavad Gita, Sarvopanishado is one Upanishad which contains the essence of all the Upanishads. So that is where you find the answers to most of your questions. You must take efforts to diligently study Bhagavad Gita. There are a lot of videos available, books available. Please make efforts. So coming back to the idea that we are that supreme consciousness. And once we realize, then we station ourselves in that feeling, and then we watch our mind and all its thoughts pass by. And then we watch our body outside it doing all the actions according to the instructions of the mind. We will be able to distance ourselves from all the emotions and all the entanglements of body and the mind. And a Brahmagyani, the knower of that Brahman, stays in this situation, stays rooted, stays situated in that consciousness while he observes the mind and its vagaries, observes the body and all the actions that it creates. He observes much within, seated deep inside. So your mind and your focus has to be at the right place. Wherever you focus, that is what you will identify yourself with. Animals focus with their body because their whole thing is about their instincts. They live by instincts. They have to have food, they have to have procreation, they have to have sleep, they have to have safety. So their whole life goes and revolves around these basic instincts of living. Whereas humans have intelligence. What kind of intelligence? They're able to think beyond just survival. They're able to be creative, they're able to be scientific, they can create and do so many things which is beyond animal capabilities. However, we also share those lower instincts with animals. But we are also intelligent beings. But beyond intelligence is one more level called intuition. Intuition is the voice of God within. So when you are connected to your soul, when you are connected to that ultimate divinity, when you are stationed there, you work through your intuition. You don't work through intelligence. You don't work through your instincts. And that is what makes all decisions go right. When people ask me, how do you decide this is the next thing that you are going to do? I simply say, this is what intuitively I know. And when you know it, that's it. Somebody was asking me in London, how do I know it? I said, you'll know it when you know it. There is no other way. I cannot explain to you. I told you last time, no? Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasasa. It cannot be described in words. It cannot be understood by the mind. So how do I explain to you in words, and how do you help your mind to understand? You practice for yourself and come to a conclusion. That is the only way in our Upanishads, that is the way it has been taught. By your self-effort or by Guru's grace, you ultimately reach that stage where you station yourself in the intuition. And when intuition speaks, you know. It is so strong. It is so clear. It's like an arrow which is shot and reaches the target straight. No deviation. Your intelligence, goes like this, like a snake. And your instinct, it's even worse. It doesn't even think, it doesn't even worry about what's going to happen. It just goes by its desire, the passion. It doesn't think at all of the consequences. Intelligence at least thinks of the consequences. Intuition just knows this is right. So that is the idea. Why I am going on explaining these things to you is because these are the things which are the most basic aspects of our living. If we don't learn all this and learn everything else, we have not learnt anything. This is why para and apara vidya. So the idea of divinity is so simple. Actually, it is the simplest concept. But to attain that is difficult because we have to go through this maze of our body and the mind and emotions and ideas and individuality, ego, identities. After all that lies this. Therefore, to go through all this is a process. That is all sadhana is all about. Doing festivals, rituals, worshipping God is all to purify our mind and keep it steady. So it doesn't swing with the emotions. And then goes straight and attaches itself to the ultimate consciousness and identifies and stations itself there. And then does everything from that consciousness, which is intuitive, which is the inspiration within of God. And then nothing goes wrong. All decisions go right. What you want to wear for today, to what you want to eat, what you're going to do tomorrow, everything will come to you. Everything will come to you if you're connected to that highest source. So all life as effort is just to reach that stage. And once you reach that stage, what happens? Other people who are living like this, Arjuna asks Sri Krishna, Sita prajnasya ka bhasha, samadhistasya keshava, Sita prajna kim prabhasheta, kim asita vrajeta kim. Are such beings existing? Arjuna is surprised. He is not able to see that Sri Krishna himself is one of them, because he's always thought of him as a friend and a cousin and a thing like that. So he never could see Krishna as somebody who is always stationed in that consciousness, because he behaves like everybody else. But I was telling, a Brahmagyani's biggest quality is nobody should know he's a Brahmagyani. That is how he should live. He should look like everybody else, ordinary, behaving like everybody else. But deep inside, he is Gyani. It's only a jeweler who can tell the difference between a piece of glass and diamond. Likewise, only a real wisdom, man of wisdom would know who is Brahmagyani, who is not. So Brahmagyani, Sita Prajna it is called, means his prajna, his consciousness is always steady. It does not swing with the mind towards positive and negative. It's always steady. Mind swings, but he stays. That consciousness stays. Sita, steady, prajna, consciousness. So such Brahmagyanis are called Sita Prajna. How do you know you're Sita Prajna or not? Ask yourself whether you're swinging every day this way, that way, or you're always steady. If you're always steady, you must be Sita Prajna. If you're always singing with emotions, you're not. See, temporary magnetization happens when you are in the presence of a magnet. You all start feeling divine. Suddenly all peace. You have forgotten about your businesses, life, all the affairs at home, because you're all sitting in a nice, cozy, comfortable, very protected atmosphere of this ashram with such yajnas going on. Everybody feels like a Sita Prajna over here. But that's not the way. You ask yourself, when you step out into the Maya of the world, are you still maintaining that steadiness? So this temporary magnetization happens because we are all divine, right? So when you are in the presence of a greater divine being, you naturally get divinized easily. Like a piece of iron gets magnetized in the presence of a magnet. But when it's taken away, then it goes back to becoming an iron piece again. Idea is to get ourselves permanently magnetized, turn into a magnet so that you never lose that property again. That is possible if you're constantly contemplating this idea that you are divine, you are divine, you are divine. So our Upanishads have given Mahavakyas, Aham Brahma or Aham Brahmasmi. I have made it into two small, phrases. Aham Brahma, but then I thought if you think you are Brahma, then you think nobody else is Brahman here. So I said Sarvam Brahma, everybody is also divine. So it's a very simple meditative mantra. Aham Brahma, Sarvam Brahma. Just meditate on this idea. It's so liberating. If you got the essence of it, you will feel so liberated. Suddenly you will feel, yes, I know all these problems exist. Yes, I know all these issues exist. I know there are failures and successes. I know there are aspirations and ambitions, and there are other days or whatever, dark night of the soul. But beyond all these things, I exist as untouched, unaffected, undisturbed, steady state of Supreme Brahman. The idea itself is liberating. Even if you don't realize it, thought itself is so very redeeming. This idea that you are divine, verily divine, is so liberating. So meditate on this idea. And how do you attain that? Sri Krishna again, when Arjuna asks, how do we attain that? He says, Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan. When all the desires are done, there is no desire left in you. Atmanyeva atmana tushtaha sita prajnastadochyate. That person is happy within himself. He or she does not need a reason to be happy. Because if you have a reason to be happy, you will also have a reason to be sad tomorrow. But this person's happiness is not conditioned by the circumstances, situations, or the happenings around. He is always in a steady state of happiness and satisfaction. Atmanyeva atmana tushtaha. Happy within himself. The easiest example is, or closest example that we see is a child. Happy within himself, smiling to himself, laughing to himself. Not bothered about what is going on. Happy within himself. Those moments when the child is behaving like that, that is the child of Sthita Prajna. And how does it happen? He says, Dukkeshu anadvigna manaha, Sukheshu vigadasparaha. When sadness comes, difficulties come, you are not disturbed. When happiness or good times come, you don't get excited. Both ways you remain steady. These are the properties or qualities of the Brahmagyani. Vita raga bhaya krodha. He has given up all the emotions. Raga means positive emotions, I want it. Bhaya, fear, I don't want it. Krodha, when I want it, I don't get it, I get angry. None of these exist for such a person. Who is Stitadhi? His mind is always steady. He is Muni, he is the Sita Prajna. Krishna defines very simple. How do you attain this? You have no desires left. Then you will say, that's not possible. We have some desire or the other. I have to eat tomorrow. But those are not called desires. See, basic maintenance of life is not called desire. Eating breakfast is not desire. That you have to eat. Wearing clothes is not a desire. That is also you have to wear. Living in a house is not a desire. That is basic. You have to maintain the body. Because through body only you can attain divinity. But wanting an 8 BHK house, wanting the silk clothes to wear, wanting to eat only this and not that, these are desires. And that's where we get stuck. God allows you to have a decent, comfortable life. Nobody said no to this. No God says suffer, 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 and you starve yourself and freeze yourself to death in some cold Himalayan cave. No God says that. That is one method which I do not prescribe. My method is very simple. Serve everybody so that your desires start coming down. When you meet people with greater needs, you suddenly realize how you have so much more than what you need. There are others who need it more than you. Share. Then your desires will start slowly melting away. So it's a process to get rid of desire. And ultimately, even Kathopanishad, Yama and Nachiketa argue for a long time in Kathopanishad. At the end, conclusion of Kathopanishad is this. Yada sarve pramuchyante kama yasya hridishritaha atamartyo amruto bhavati atra brahma samashnute. Then and there you become God. Then and then you become Brahman when all your desires are over. So you will ask, do I have desires? Yes, I have good desires are there. We have to build hospitals, we have to give education, you have to give medication or whatever, health care. But what is that? It's a positive desire. Negative desires are selfish desires. That is what you should get rid of. Positive desires don't harm us. Even that you will get rid of it because you will realize you are just an instrument of divine. It's being done through you. You will come to that state. But at least positive desires are better than negative desires of selfishness. As Ramakrishna Paramahamsa says, a thorn that has got stuck in your flesh has to be removed using another thorn. So use one thorn to remove the other thorn. Like that, use positive desires to remove the negative desires. And finally, throw away both the thorns. Then you will say, oh, so we don't have to run hospital schools? No. You would not be running. It will be run through you. You will become an instrument of God. You will not even realize that you're doing it. Everything is being done. That's why when everybody comes and says, oh, you're doing this, you're doing that. For the sake of dealing with the world, I say yes, yes, yes. But deep inside, I know none of this I am doing. Therefore, if it succeeds, good. If it doesn't succeed, good as well. It doesn't matter both ways to us. But I know if it's divine will, if it has to succeed, it will succeed. Because it is doing good to more people. What does God want? He wants all of us to become God. That's all God wants. And the only way is to become pure, become selfless, become desireless. And when you do service to others, your personal selfish desires disappear. When you see somebody's pain is greater than yours, you suddenly don't feel like asking for your pain from God, to solve your problems from God. You feel your problem is very little compared to somebody else. So you accept it. This acceptance is a great spiritual virtue. Not bothering God every day. Most of them who come to do puja, they come with a long list of why they have come here. They have a list behind. Why they want to offer anything. And if they don't get something, they'll go to somebody else. I was in Hong Kong and one Swamiji, Panditji came and told, Swamiji, here people are like this. They have some problem or they have some desire. They come to our temple. After doing some puja, if the desire is not fulfilled, they shift to the next temple. They don't come back again. They do shopping, temple to temple. Whichever God gives them what they want, they will go to that God. This kind of devotion is not devotion at all. You don't do rituals for that sake. If you ask, yes, ask, turn it into a positive desire. For example, let me study well, Swami, so that I am an able instrument of yours, so that I can serve people better. It's a positive desire. Let me study well, Swami, so that I get gold medal and I'm the topper in the class. I'll earn a lot of money after that. Bad desire. Same ask. Let me study well. But the reason for it is different. So that reason, that attitude with which you ask defines whether you have a selfless or a selfish desire. So how to attain that sthita prajna sthiti? Start cutting down on your desires. What are the desires which you should cut down on? Selfish desires you should cut down on. So should I not eat? Eat, but don't demand that I will eat only this. Should I not wear something? Wear decent clothing. Wear according to your profession, your position. But don't desire more than that. Should I not have a house? Yes, you should have a house for you and your family members. They should stay safe and comfortable, but not ask for luxury beyond that. So all things that are need-based are allowed in our scriptures. Nobody said a king should live like a king. If he does not wear the silken robes and the crown and sits on the throne, who is going to respect him? So for that sake, you be a king like Janaka. But the other time, your mind is totally detached. It doesn't matter to you whether you're a king or not within. But you do it because it's a part of your duty. So discharging your duty for the sake of the welfare of all, that is our role in this world. And so everybody does their duty right, world will go on well. So the idea of Brahman is very simple. It is that which is the consciousness within you that makes you think, speak, act, behave, talk, everything like electricity that is running in the whole place. It has no particular affiliation, no particular attributes, no particular associations or attachments. It is neutral. Like that, consciousness is neutral. That is the presence of Brahman. It takes many forms, shapes, names. And as I was mentioning, why we are worshipping Shankara? Because he took poison for our sake. And that's an inspiration, that's an example. We must celebrate examples. We all celebrate heroes. We all celebrate great beings. Why? Because they inspire us. And that is the idea. Yada charati shrestha tat tat deveta rojanaha. The way good people behave, the rest of the society follows. So Shankara behaved in a good way. Even his own wife said, don't do this. He said, nothing doing. That's a bad advice. I will continue to do what I have got to do. Why? His intuition is speaking. I have to save others. So he took the poison. Of course, Devi came and stopped the poison from going down. She's energy. She can control your metabolism. She can control everything. She controlled his ability to swallow and did not allow this poison to go beyond his neck. So it stays there and it's called Nilakantha. So these are all stories from the Puranas, but they have a reason why they're telling us. Shankara did not think about himself. What will happen to me? He thought about what will happen to the world if I don't do this. And then he had the ability. That Ichha Shakti, that Kriya Shakti, Jnana Shakti, that Devi is, she helped him to keep the poison in the throat and never swallow it. So likewise, if you have desire to do good to the world, abilities will come to you, resources will come to you. Lakshmi is full of resources. Saraswati is the jnana, the wisdom how to do it. And Durga is the abilities how to do it. To run a hospital, don't you need all these three things? You need the resources, the people and the funds. You also need the wisdom how to run it properly. You also need the abilities. So all these come to you when you try to do good to the world. So I'm trying to relate to what scriptural truths are to what is practically applicable spiritualities in today's world. And we are all living that spirituality here. Try to find your way to understand this. Each will have their own understanding, but try to understand that this is all God's work. We are doing God's work because we are doing it selflessly. And that is the way to realize that we are that supreme consciousness, because our desires are done. When there is no desire left, we reach the Sthita Prajna Sthiti. The Sthita Prajna is nothing but Brahmagyani. That is the knower of Brahman. That is the ultimate essence, ultimate state of existence as divinity. This is the spirituality that is Indian. If you have any one or two questions, you can ask.
Swami, we are currently worshipping Durga as the Divine Mother. In Christianity, Mother Mary is considered as the Holy Mother. Is it the same?
At the fundamental level, they are same. But at the practical level of the world, they're different. Mother Mary is the embodiment of motherhood, divine motherhood, because she gave birth to Jesus Christ. And that is how she brought divinity into existence. So that way we eulogize her, we worship her, we in a way, symbolically think of her as the divinity, the motherhood that divine is. And Durga is another way of worshipping her. So fundamentally they are both mothers, they both are divine. But we worship why Mother Mary? Because she gave us her son, who went on to redeem so many people. So her worship is like that. But it is more of our symbolic worship of the great idea of divinity that exists in all. And when it expresses itself more in some people, they naturally are thought of as divine beings.
If our family members are not inclined towards spirituality, do we have a responsibility and duty to bring them onto the path?
Yes, you have, but not by going and chewing their brains every day. You just help them come to this path by you following this path sincerely. If they see that you are following this path and they see the changes in you, the transformation in you, the joy that you exude, the kind of happiness, the positivity that you are having, seeing you, they should get inspired to change. But going and hammering them every day after my lecture, you know what Swami said? Listen to it. That fellow is not interested. But he's captive. He won't get his dinner unless he listens to what you have got to say. Now, that kind of spirituality is not going to help. Everybody has their time, and at the right time it happens for everybody. So the best way to help people walk this path is you walk this path sincerely. And seeing the changes in you, seeing the good positive changes in you, they should get inspired and come on their own to ask, how do I also become like you? And that is how you change them.
Swami, if Guru and God are the same, during meditation, should we focus on the Guru or God?
Guru and God are not the same. Likewise, if you go by the fundamental principle, all are God. You worship a piece of stone also, perfectly okay. But Guru is somebody who is a teacher, who is the remover of darkness, the remover of ignorance. So he is trying to tell you what is best way for you to proceed on this path and attain the highest. God per se is the very supreme Brahman. Take that as this. So some people may not have a guru at all. They may say, what is our fate? They can always consult the divinity within, because we have that divine within. But it is difficult for us because we have not learned how to do it. Guru knows how to do it, so he teaches us. It becomes easier for us. He's a guide. I call it as a guide who can guide us in a new place, how to reach our destination. On your own also you can find out, but it may take a longer time, or it may be difficult for you to do it. Guru makes it easy. So it's not that Guru and God are same. In a way they are same if you go by the Brahman concept, that fundamentally all are same. But Guru has a role, functional role of a teacher. So God can also be a Guru, like Sri Krishna was a Guru to Arjuna. Or Guru can also be a God, like Dakshinamurti is a Guru, but he is also embodiment of Shiva. So that is certain cases. But for general understanding, this is Guru is a teacher, a guide, who guides us how to reach that destination of being God.